unknown why he's running. That's the one thing. But he was going at a very high rate of speed as he continued south on Alameda, going on the wrong side of the street. And it got going so quick on 96th Street that CHP got behind him and lost him. So now we're down eastbound Manchester. Actually, this is going to be Firestone as we say coming up to State Street. Coming up to State Street, Colton, my camera operator, giving me a heads up on the map. But yeah, as we continue on here, East Manchester, coming up to State Street as he goes through there. So just a matter of time before we get units on him. But we try our best to help out with this, you know, especially when the units are trying to keep up with it with no police air support overhead. We'll drop in and try to help out and direct them in. But unfortunately, he got so far ahead of the CHP officers that even with my light on him, they were unable to orient to where I was compared to where they were, and they just continued on eastbound. So now we're communicating with the Sheriff's Department, and they are coming in. Hopefully, they said they were over Vernon, so that wasn't that far away. And so we're just going to keep an eye on him. One of the other area units up here is giving them the exact location of where he's at while I speak with you folks. And so we're just going to keep an eye on it. And now there's a light coming on it. And I don't see an area unit underneath me yet, but we'll just kind of go around. There he goes. There's the sheriff's light on him. Yeah, that's the sheriff's air light underneath me. I had to pop up to give them room to come in because I was at a lower altitude so I could keep the light on him. But yeah, he pulled into that alley. I thought sure he was going to get out and take off and run it at that point, but he blacked out just for a second. I guess he figured he didn't see any police cars around him, so he decided just to go ahead and take off. And so right now, Roger, and so he decided to take off. But right now he's got the sheriff's on him. They're doing mutual aid with CHP, telling them where he is, and also the sheriff's unit in the area here as well. So we just passed State Street here on Firestone eastbound, but he looks like he's just sitting, you know, in traffic, driving normal. So if any police officer would see him without us overhead, the suspect. So right now, anyway, so right now it's just kind of keeping an eye on him as we continue on here eastbound on Firestone. And I can listen to the Sheriff's Department. He's directing units into him, and you can see that's the Sheriff's night sun that's on him now. So we've climbed up to give them room to work, and we're going to be the observer now and kind of watch and see what happens on this. Because there's a turn right there, turning south, and as he continues south here, you see the Sheriff's area unit fly through our shot. Now he's going on the wrong side of the street a little bit there, so he knows he's being chased now. And so right now it's just a matter of time before a black and white shows up here and starts picking up on this pursuit. Five's going south here. I got you guys behind me. Rate of speed coming down code 3. There they are, and he's directing them right, and they're directing them right in behind him. So here comes the turn here, and he's got a unit on him, and off we go. That looked like that might be a CHP officer. Yeah, that's CHP. So they're back on the chase here as we work our way back westbound here. I'll get a street for you name here in a second as we're on Tweedy Boulevard here, approaching State in the area here, coming through some traffic into the number 1 lane. Now CHP hot on his tail, and now he's back, the speed's up, and now on the wrong side of the street here as we continue on through the intersection on a red light and then continue on. So now he's doing exactly what he was doing you know, before, and now he's back on it, wrong side of the street through that intersection, high rates of speed. And now we continuing on here, coming up to, yeah, I believe this is going to be State Street he's coming up to. And then the next one will be Long Beach, will be the next major street. And if he continues west, then we're going to head into the LAX area. But continuing on, high rate of speed through the intersection, back over to number 1 lane. CHP is well behind him, slowing down. The Sheriff's area unit is overhead. Now we're going to make a right turn. Looks like right turn. I believe this is Long Beach Boulevard from Tweedy. And continuing on here, units making the turn, and they're kind of holding back on him, not staying with him because of the speed. Not really staying up with him because of the speed and the time that he's flying right along here. So They don't want to get too far or too ahead of you, be going too fast, because they have the responsibility to drive safely, even though they have a pursuit going. They have their emergency equipment running, but that doesn't relieve them from responsibility of taking care of the motoring public. Now, the suspect has no idea. He's just going on as fast as he can. He has no regard for anybody out here on these roadways. So continuing on here, northbound Long Beach, and get through that intersection, past the traffic on the right, just kind of weaving through slower traffic, going on the wrong side, right down the middle of the center divider here, taking those left turn lanes, and then really moving along, coming up to railroad tracks here. He's going to bounce through here. Luckily, it's a green light going through there. So, right on the back of that car. So he had this brake hard and almost hit him. Now through the left turn pockets, continuing on here, and through that intersection here on a red light. CHP units are trailing back about a quarter mile, just kind of keeping an eye on him. So as we continue here northbound Long Beach into the Huntington Park area, this guy is bound to crash here if he keeps these speeds up. His luck's going to run out. Going up, left turn right in front of him there. Just a person pulling into a driveway, and nearly got clipped by this guy going by at a high rate of speed. It looks like, yeah. Oh, absolutely not. And Colton was telling me it looked like at one point we were looking down on the window, he was changing his clothes. So if he's doing that, I mean, what has he done? Why does he want to change his look? Is he deciding to bail out here? Wrong side of the street, going through a very congested area of Huntington Park here, through that intersection on a red light. Man, that was unbelievable. And no cross traffic. So he's just completely lucky to get through there. On the brakes hard, coming up to the next intersection, through that intersection, and then working its way up, and a little bit of traffic ahead of him. But this is a very congested area here. A lot of people on foot out here, a lot of cars now here on the brakes real hard. Looked like he was going to try to make a turn there, went through the red light, and then continuing down here. You see how they have the curb parking there. And so coming up on a stopped car, and he got a red light here. He's through that, no cross traffic, thank goodness, and going along. Yeah, so the way he's driving this thing, it's going to be a mess if he hits somebody, because he's at a, here we go, cross traffic, going to be a hit. Oh, man, that was close. Oh, absolutely. Just barely missed the front of that car. So continuing on, working our way still northbound here on Long Beach Boulevard. Coming up to cross traffic here on Major. Looks like they come through here. He's on the brakes hard. Slide through there. Nobody in the way. And then working our way still northbound here. The helicopter overhead giving the location. The CHP ground units are way behind now. They're not even trying to keep up with him, because they don't want to push him too hard. Now we're making a turn here, coming into a residential area. And 1 or 2 on Skinner. Oh, he's going to go head on with the units. Head on with the units here. Oh, man. The units are going to take a curb and let him go by. Or on, I believe it was 96th Street at Malabar is what he's southbound on right now. And as we continue back down here to the Major as we work our way along. So this thing is all over the place here. He's back. And then through that intersection on a red. So my goodness, went through Slauson there on a red on Malabar, continuing down. Yeah, being in a residential track, just like that small part of Long Beach Boulevard there in Huntington Park. It's very dangerous now, coming back up on a intersection here through the red, bouncing across the tracks. Went through Randolph there. Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm talking about his luck running out. I mean, he's going to, you can only blast so many red lights and not end up finding some innocent citizen in the middle of the intersection. So here he comes up to another one here on the brakes, and just right between cars, just threads the needle right there through that intersection, continuing south on Malabar. Now we're having the CHP area unit come in here as well to help out with the Sheriff's Department. And there is another pursuit going on in the Southland up on the 5 freeway at the 134. So It's a very active night. The rain is just now starting to fall, and that's just going to add another element to this pursuit as well as the other one. So making the westbound turn here, coming back up to, I believe this, let me get the intersection now, coming back towards us. Really kind of going around that corner, roger that. And he's coming back northbound here. I'll get the name of the street for you in just a second as we work our way back up. And this is no, absolutely not. We're north on Santa Fe here, and yeah, coming up these intersections at the speed he's at now, the ground is a little bit wet, so being able to stop is going to be next to impossible. And he's in excess of about, I would say, 80 to 90 miles an hour right now as we pass through here. You can see he's on the brakes, and that's another thing, on the brakes so much here. He's going to heat those brakes up, and they're going to be useless after a while. But here he is lane changing, just kind of working his way around slower traffic as we continue on here north on Santa Fe. And that's just taking us up into the east side of downtown and the Vernon area as we work our way north. And he looks like he's not even giving any relief to that car as we go through those intersections, just staying on the brass. He just went through Vernon right there. And the CHP ground units have backed off just a bit and letting this guy run because the air unit can stay with him and direct him in there. He's kind of weaving through that intersection and then continuing on. So hopefully this thing comes to an end where this guy loses it, hits a parked car or something like that, and doesn't take out some innocent civilian in one of these intersections, because as we were talking there, Mike, his luck's going to run out here, or his talent, his driving's going to run out, and he's going to end up hitting somebody. But right now he's on the brakes hard here. He got a cross traffic, weaving his way around that, now turning to the west and kind of working his way around off of Santa Fe. As we work our way around, we'll keep an eye out for him and working his way to the west. No. Gotcha, 9. Oh. Yeah, we're back southbound on Alameda from coming up to about Slauson, it looks like, and he was on this street at the beginning. That's where the pursuit started, southbound on Alameda from up in this part of town, and he rode Alameda almost all the way down to the 105 before he turned at 103rd. So we're back in familiar territory for him. So I don't know if he's going to be able, if he's looking for a spot to get back to a familiar area. But when he got in there on 103rd, kind of whipped around in there and lost the ground units, we thought for sure he was going to bail out. But you see here, there's no sign of him slowing down or getting away. But here he goes, continuing south on Alameda, coming up to the next intersection on a red light, and going to go right through that intersection. Everybody stopped and waited. And luckily, nobody, going to pop out there. They must have seen the units coming. But here he comes to another intersection. It's on the brakes, and oh, it does spin right into the cars. Boom! Right into opposite traffic, and just there you have it. Poor people just sitting there waiting for a red light, and then this guy comes flying across, clips, goes out of control, and head on with those cars parked in the northbound Alameda here. So you can see it's come to a stop. A lot of damage to the cars. CHP pulling in on scene, and we have, they got to take care of the suspect as well as check these other cars. You see the carnage left right there, just smashed those cars completely, and now it's spun out. You can see the airbags have deployed in the car, and now CHP is going to start their extraction process here. If the person is able to get out, because that was quite the accident. Now the officers pulling in behind, their job is going to be to tend to any injured here. You see that little Mini Cooper just smashed into the curb, back into that little white car, and then now have to keep an eye on them. Those folks took a real hard hit. And now back to the car. We'll keep an eye. 9, I got you. All right. Oh yeah, you see a car. Yeah, you see the officers checking. Yeah, you see the officers checking the victims back here, getting them, and this guy's just trying to get out of the way. And so, man, it's a crash that's just unbelievable. And you're sitting there, you have nowhere to go, nowhere to hide, and this guy is out of control, coming right at you. And then right now you see the car is still sitting there. You can see the smoking just a little bit from the radiator, just destroyed the radiator on that. And now the chippies or CHP is trying to get the, old law enforcement thing there. CHP is trying to get the other folks out of the way so they can clear the area so they can get up there and make their approach on this suspect. But yeah, a lot of dynamics going on right now these officers have to take care of. They have to worry about the suspect, and also they got to render aid to these poor victims who are just sitting here at that red light. We're on Alameda, just south of Randolph. We talked about that street before he was on, and as he hit that intersection, he just got clipped that car, lost control, went sideways, and then into this red Mini Cooper and a couple other cars. You see the CHP officer escorting that driver away from his car. He looks like he's a little bit limping there just a bit, but he's going to get him up in his car and get him out of the way. So right now we're yeah, that's right. So you got all the airbags that went off in there. Plus, when that radiator lets go like that, you have to deal with all the hot water, steam, and fluid that comes out of there. And that could possibly be the steamed up the front windshield because it goes through the venting system. You see the windshield wipers are on, so all the interior of that is completely steamed up. Not hearing anything from CHP is really right now. They're just trying to coordinate everything and get those victims out of the way and keeping an eye on that suspect. And something like this, normally we've seen him come popping out of that right side and take off running. And but right now it looks like he is not moving at all. So this becomes very peculiar for the officers. Now you got a suspect in a car who may be injured and unable to respond to your commands. So at some point you're going to have to be able to make your way up there. More likely they'll put together in a team with shields and work their way up to the car. But if you can't see inside the car, you have no idea what you're walking up on. So, and they could very easily ask for an armored unit to come up here and make approach with an armored unit. But that'll take some time to get them in position. So a lot of decisions have to be made by the officers down here. You see that tire you're talking about, the whole wheel ripped off of this car, laying on the sidewalk right there. It looks like the left rear wheel came completely off from the impact of that collision. No, not at all. We're kind of keeping a close eye on it, but the windows, like I said, are fogged up. Let's punch in really tight there, Colton, if we can, and see if we can see anything in there. That driver's window is a little bit open to where you can visible through the dust and the excuse me, on the steam. You see somebody moving in there, so he's at least conscious. And so we'll have to see what the CHP is going to do here. They're asking for the sheriff's department to come with some extra units to help out, and I'm sure they're giving commands to him over the PA system, trying to get him to come out, or at least put his hands up at the windows where they can see him. But man, that is dangerous for a police officer or CHP officer to walk up to this car, or even to dance with a team, because you're at a total disadvantage once you leave the back end or the sides of those units back there. So you want to get him to pop the door open and come out. But unfortunately, he may not be able to. But we do see movement in the car, and hopefully the CHP air unit overhead, who's got the light on, he's now relieved the sheriff unit, is giving them instructions on what he's seeing as far as movement in the car, if you can see anybody else in the car. And as you were mentioning, Micah, you have no idea how many people are in this car. You know, we know it's the driver, but in cars like this size, you don't know who's laying down in the back, or if there's somebody in the back seat. You just can't see when we're chasing them along at these speeds. But right now, they've tended to the civilians that were involved in this accident, and now they're slowing down the pace here to make a plan to get up to the side of this car and try to get the suspect out. But right now, they're going to not put themselves in harm's way to try to approach this car, is what it looks like. But they're asking for additional resources from the LA County Sheriff's here to come help out. Still on scanner 2, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can see there's the carnage he left behind there in the car that he was driving, you know, head on with those cars parked in the northbound Alameda here, and then it swung up. You saw the tail end of it jump up from the impact, and it tears off that rear wheel, and then all the airbags deploy. You see how much damage to the car. So that driver, if he wasn't belted in there, I'm sure he took a pretty good shot from that crash. But, you know, least of my worries about him. I'm worried more about the folks that were just innocently sitting there on Alameda as he got clipped going through Randolph, and they just lost control. But you can see CHP is taking their time, and I've been watching the air unit out the window as we've been kind of keeping an eye on the car. He's dropped down low a couple times and got really slow, using that night sun and probably binoculars to look into that car, trying to get information from inside that car to see if the guy is moving. And he was reporting that he did have movement, but not much more than that. But we've been seeing that movement as well in the windshield of that car. But the CHP is in he's in no hurry to get up there, those officers, to check this car out, because the thing is you don't want to put yourselves in harm's way for somebody who chose their path tonight, but they still have render aid to the suspect in that car, but not at their own peril. So I wouldn't go up there as being a former police officer. Right now, I would ask for either armor to come in to help out, or at least ballistic shields to be able to have something between me and that car when you approach. Another thing they could do is use less than lethal rounds to shoot the windows out of that car, the big 40 millimeter, 38 millimeter rubber bullets that they have is capable of being fired at that window and knock the window out at least to where they can see inside and give themselves a little bit more of an advantage. But walking up on a car like this with the windows completely fogged up and you can't see, you can see one of the victims here being transported off by LA County right now as he comes around. You can see right through Randolph there, taken over to the ambulance. I'm sure those folks, they had to get rattled up pretty good, especially that one driver coming out looked like he was having a hard time walking. Yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the last thing they want to do is go up there without all the information they can have to see if the suspect is waiting oh man, there's an ambulance coming the wrong way here. Going to come down and get in the way. It's right there. I don't know. Somebody did give him all the information where this was. We just try to drive right by the suspect. But anyway, yeah, they're just going to, keep an eye on him until they can figure out what's going on. And unfortunately, this care ambulance did get the information on which way to approach, and they're going to start getting him to get out of the way because that's not where you want your ambulance to stop. So, yeah, they're going to take their time. They're going to take their time and work this through. It's up to the suspect. If he can get out, to get out. If not, then they're going to have to finally make that approach. And more than likely, armored vehicle brought in here somehow to go up here and work their way up. If they don't have that available tonight, then they can go ahead and use a unit to kind of work their way up on it to get a little bit closer so they have a little bit of cover concealment for the approach. But to walk out from inside those units now, walk up there on foot is not something that I would want to do in a situation like this. Got it. Push in tight. Yeah, we're hearing that, yeah, they are requesting sheriff's left lethal. You see, looks like his hand waving there in the driver. Yeah, so, yeah, they may, yeah, if you look at that left front fender, it's pushed back and it's into the door. So I'm sure they're talking to him on a PA and he's hand signaling back at him, maybe letting him know he can't get out. So, that might be the issue, but I can see that fender is jammed back into the door, so he just may not be able to open the door. But I haven't seen any attempt of him to try to open it. You don't see it moving or anything, but maybe he could roll the window down if the battery's not shut. Well, the battery's working because the windshield wipers are going, but he's just kind of, there he is. Yeah, you see he's looking out, and who knows? He may be hurt to a point where he can't get out. He just doesn't know what to do, or we don't know what's going on with this guy or why he was running in the first place. So now he's right in the driver's seat here, kind of looking out, and he's just messing with his clothes, as you can see. So pushing that airbag from the steering wheel out of the way. So at least now they can see him, and now he's hitting the door, so he realized he can't get out. And we'll see what he does. So at least he's complying to a point here, and at least trying to get out, and that'll save the hassle of the officers having to work their way up to it. So maybe they can talk to him to tell him to go off the other side. But there's nobody on the other side that I can see. Looks like there's no units to the south of him except a long ways away, and maybe they're just trying to get him to come out that way. But I would be telling him now, roll the window down, crawl out. I mean, that's would be my direction to him right now. They do have power, so the power windows would work at this point. But Roger, and so it's just up to him right now how this thing ends. I mean, the officers are not going to put themselves in harm's way. All he needs to do is work his way out of that car and surrender peacefully to these officers, because they're not going to go away. The only option right now is you go to the jail via the emergency room for a pre-booking check, and that's your night for tonight. That's how this is going to end, and it's not going to end any other way. So it's up to this man to get out of the car and face the consequences of his actions tonight, of this reckless driving. Yeah. Well, there's the windows getting blown out. Yeah, knocked out the rear window. Yeah. Yeah, well, they probably won't shoot at the one he's sitting next to, because you don't want to shower him with glass, even though it'd be great for. And then let them maybe give him directions to crawl out that back window. That would be the next thing. But like you said, Mike, his legs might be stuck under the steering column, and he can't get out of it. But right there, knocking out that rear window, gets a little air in there. Maybe it starts getting those windows to unfog to a point. You see right there by the dash is starting to unfog just a bit. It's got a sweaty handprint on the driver's window. So right now, it's just taking their time and continue on here as you see the suspect in that window. So it's just a matter of time. Yeah. Go to the back. Yeah, call up on EPA system, crawl to the back, climb out the window, or try to open that door. But it looks like he's gonna work his way and knocking glass out of the way, because you wouldn't want to be cut after an accident like that. And here comes the legs popping out, and doesn't look like he's any worse for wear. I mean, these modern vehicles with the airbags and restraint systems, they protect you. And so now they're telling him to keep his hands up to where they can. They'll start telling him to walk backwards. There he is, right, walking backwards towards them, bringing back to the units, back to their position of advantage. And then once he gets back a little. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I was saying, modern vehicles with that restraint systems and airbags, you can crash it pretty hard, and those airbags will save you. And it looks like it's done the job there. Now his job is just to pay attention and do what the officers tell him, and don't do any foolish things. Like, it looks like he got a cell phone in his hand. You have to get that out of his hand. You don't want to do that. You don't want to reach in your pocket, pull out anything at this point. They're going to tell him to pull up his shirt so they can see his waistband. The problem is he starts doing his gyrations here. That puts the officers on edge. So they need him to walk backwards and get back towards him. They're obviously telling him to raise his shirt. And it all depends on how he's reacting to their commands. There goes the jacket off on the ground. He's putting his hands back up. And luckily, it does look like he's complying with their requests. And they're going through the normal procedures here. And they should bring him backwards all the way to the unit. Now he's going to pull his shirt off. I don't know what the new deal here is. We've seen this on a couple pursuits where you had their suspects start taking off their shirts and taking off their clothes, and that's what this guy looks like he's doing. And you know, not really that necessary. Just start pulling up your shirt so we can see your waistband. That's all they're asking. But there could be a language barrier as well on this. Now he's turning around, showing his front. Turn around. Now he'll turn around and start walking backwards, hopefully. So it might be a little impairment going on here, just looking at his body language, kind of flopping around there. So now he's got the number, walking backwards towards the officers. Once he gets back towards those units, the rest team will take charge of him. And you have units with less lethal trained on him, as well as units with regular weapons. And so right now they're going to bring him back, walk it to the side, bring him down between those two cars, hopefully. So thank goodness no officers had to go up there and get this guy out of the car. He's looks like he's surrendered peacefully. And we all hope that the folks in those cars that were stopped on Alameda here are going to be okay. But their little cars there are pretty well smashed up by this guy just taking everybody else's lives in his hands as he drove here south on Alameda at that high rate of speed. Yeah. I don't know what it is with taking the shirts and the clothes off now, but he did that. It shows that he doesn't have any weapons in his waistband, but he needs to put his hands out to the side and not like that. So here comes the arrest officer's hands out. Somebody will take charge of the hands, bring it around, put handcuffs on him. There it is. Step around, drop down, kneel on him. That pins him down so he can't come up. Handcuffs go on. The other officers cross his legs so he can't get kicked, and then kneel down on the upper leg. That's all the procedures you're taught in the academy. And then once he's secured, they did pat him down on the ground. They'll pop him up, take him to a unit, and off to jail he goes. Whew.